One of the emerging topics that we're seeing in the ESG space is biodiversity and nature. It's not a new topic, but we're seeing kind of renewed interest in it. So here at Bloomberg, and certainly within the Bloomberg intelligence team, we're doing a lot to try to ultimately understand which industries could be at risk of nature-related issues. My name is Eric Kane. I'm the Director of ESG Research for Bloomberg Intelligence, and my team is really focused on helping clients understand which ESG issues are financially material to which industries, what metrics we can ultimately use to assess performance, to assess which companies perhaps are leading or lagging, and of course helping our clients understand the data and tools that we have on Terminal to do that type of analysis. What we've seen over the last several years is companies setting increasingly ambitious greenhouse gas reduction targets. One of the other things that we see when we look at these targets is 2030 is one of the key dates, one of the end years that we see for targets. Obviously 2030 is fast approaching. So what we're doing at Bloomberg Intelligence on the ESG team is an industry by industry analysis, focusing on the most carbon intensive industries, understanding what the levers of decarbonization are, and then trying to see whether these targets are actually credible. Climate risk has long been kind of at the center of the ESG conversation. And I think a lot of the focus historically has been on decarbonization, right? Really understanding which companies were the biggest emitting companies, what they were doing to reduce their emissions. And I think that conversation is still absolutely critical. But I think one of the other components that's been added to the conversation more recently is this idea of physical risk, right? So what we wanted to do within BI to really help us understand this is a couple things. One, we want to understand where companies have physical assets that could potentially be at risk. So we're able to use some of the tools that we have on Terminal. Another thing that we've wanted to understand is, as we see the increase in billion-dollar events, if we look at kind of the climate damages economy in aggregate, what does this actually mean? So at BI, we built our climate damages tracker, which is an effort to basically aggregate all this information and really understand on a rolling monthly basis, on an annual basis, how much climate damage is really driving the economy. And what we ultimately see is that it's become a $500 billion a year plus driver of economic activity. And of course, within that, then what we're able to understand is which industries, which companies may ultimately face headwinds and which may actually face tailwinds as well. Climate change has been at the heart of the ESG conversation for a long time. And I think the conversation has become very nuanced as the data has progressed, as our ability to understand the issue has progressed. So I think when we think about what ultimately companies and industries want to understand, I think it really comes down to this idea of kind of industry or company specificity. And I think that's one of the strengths of what we do at Bloomberg Intelligence, is we're really able to take a particular industry, understand which elements of climate might ultimately be most impactful. So really being able to understand that climate is not just a monolith, it's more nuanced than that, and there are different insights, different data points, different types of analyses that are ultimately needed for different industries and different companies.